a little bit too much room. They got a couple of chances. So just got in halftime, get a little bit organized again. And I thought we played pretty well in the second half. Then we gave them a chance there at the end. But a bad defensive play by us. We lost possession, get caught when the ball turns over. But I thought Sasha Kleshnik came on tonight and made a real huge impact for us, played very, very well. We had some real good chances. The goalkeeper made a couple of decent saves. Full credit to the guys. I mean, 2-0 went down to 10 men's can be a tough task. I thought at moments there we could have been 2-1 and maybe give us a little bit of hope, but obviously the third goal of the death there kind of kills it off.
You mentioned Sasha Kleshnik, but also Chicharito comes in and gives you some chances. Sasha is off the crossbar there in the second half. How much do you appreciate just the fight that this team gave you, not just here in the second half tonight, but really throughout this whole week?
Yeah, I told him that just now about 2 minutes ago in the locker room that the 3 games that I was fortunate to be the interim head coach of this team. I thought the commitment they showed, the fight they showed up until the very, very end was something to be commendable or something I commend them for. You said it before, Megan, there. Javier came on, held the ball up for us, got out of some tricky situations, and helped create some chances. So, it's like I said, but 10 minutes, it's a little bit you kind of defend and wait for your chance when you have the ball. But I thought at times we played some good stuff, especially building out of the back, connecting passes from the back to the midfield to the front, and really caused some problems. So it was good we were pushing all the way to the end. And like I said, the third goal for me is just something that's completely avoidable, the loss of possession, and then the decisions that we made at the back there is something that we can definitely look at and 100% improve upon.
Dom, we understand your interim status, but you've been around this league since the very start. You know what it is that the Galaxies stand for. What has to be next for this club to get back, not only in the playoffs, but contending for championships again?
Well, I mean, the league is evolving, as we know, Megan. I think the players that are here have to hold themselves to a very high standard, which I think they do. But I think, when they look back at the season, for the group that comes back, it has to be understood that what has happened this year is well below standard. This team, should not be below the playoff line, even when the MLS is adding teams to the playoff picture. So everyone should be disappointed. I think if anybody walks away and thinks the season was a good one for them, I think they'd be mistaken. And then it's important for us as a group, for the technical staff, to look at the roster and try and improve upon that. I think it'd be a surprise if this group of players were to come back. There needs to be improvements in a lot of positions. Where we're at, we had a little bit of hope after the first win against Salt Lake, but obviously this last 2 games didn't really, and the standings didn't really count. They counted for me and for the players that mattered on the field. But for us to be fighting for a playoff spot, for the LA Galaxy to be fighting for a playoff spot late in the year, for me is not the story that should be told.
We'll go with a question from Josh Gessman. Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Dom. This game feels like it's a little bit of a microcosm for the rest of the season. Obviously, you guys had some good chances. There's some good pressure there. The things really feel like they're going your way. And then whether they're mental lapses or positional lapses or whatever happens, it seems to all fall apart. Is that fair?
Yeah, you can kind of summarize it that way. I said we have good possession in the first little 10, 15 minutes there. They're not wonderful, but we weren't all over them, but we did create some good moments. And then a cross that comes inside the box, a guy gets a goal on it. So I think on the defensive side, we could definitely be a tougher team to break down. And in the penalty area, we could be a tougher team to take advantage of. So, and I think that's kind of been, you could look at the season and you look at the goals against, and if you were to kind of run a video of how the goals that were scored against us, it's like individual determination in certain moments that can make the difference during the game and during the season.
Dom, with Julian Araujo, obviously he's a young player, very aggressive, has a ton of energy, but he tends to get caught in these situations where he's either picking up yellow cards or, in this case, a red card. What does he need to do to sort of take his responsibility level on those to the next step?
Yeah, I think at times he's over aggressive. He is a he's not like a pretend tough guy. I do think he is a very hard player. He doesn't shirk away from the physical aspect of the game. But in this moment here, it's, he's left his leg in and followed through, which is, I think the referee handled it correctly. But yeah, I think you have to channel that aggression in other ways. I mean, he has a wonderful future. I think he attacks very well. He's a very good one-on-one defender. At times, I think he takes things a little bit above and beyond the aggression level, and he did that tonight. And I think it's just been channeling your aggression in a better way and understanding how important he is to the team when he's on the field.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
We have time for one more with Katia Castorena. Katia, go ahead.
Thanks, Vicky. Hi, Dom. I know it's so incredible to think that out of 18 teams that are advancing, the Galaxy is not going to make it. But out of these 3 games, you touched a little bit on it already, but what do you take out of these 3 games? And even though today you couldn't completely close on that positive note, but that you see the team can build on for next season?
It's a tough one to answer. I mean, we're just about 10 minutes after the game. All in all, it's still a 3-0 loss. So I'm not exactly sitting here, heaping praise and sprinkling sunflowers around the fields that things are going to grow beautifully in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So I do take these losses very personal. The one thing I can say about the group was, anytime there's a coaching change, you want a response in a positive way. I think the group did respond in a positive way. I thought we had, 2 real good results. We were, minutes away from having 2 great results. And then this one here, we're a little bit chasing the game because, and fair credit to Vancouver, they made the plays and we didn't defend them properly. So you have to give credit where credit is due. But I thought the attitude of the players was very good. The camaraderie was good. I think they understood that, when a coaching change is made, it is the responsibility of all of us in the locker room, but it's also the responsibility of the locker room and how they respond. And I think the response was very positive in trainings and in the games. At moments we let ourselves down. You don't walk away 3-0 playing a wonderful game. There are moments that you were not playing well at. But all in all, I don't think we ever gave up. We ever stopped moving or ever stopped running. Yes, we made some bad decisions. But for the most part, I thought the attitude of the players and the determination that they showed to each other was very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Dom. Safe travels back home.
Thank you, guys. Be safe.
Thank you, Perry, for joining us. Obviously, this is not the way that this team wanted to close out this 2020 season. But what do you take from this result here tonight as you look back at how not only this game ended, but kind of this season comes to a close?
Yeah, I mean, it was disappointing for sure. Obviously, the goals are pretty soft overall. We talked about how they like to cross the ball early. Yeah, we didn't do well with those. Obviously, the red card makes it very difficult for us. But saying that, I thought the second half we probably deserved a little more. Had some good chances. We defended well. We showed a little bit of character in tough circumstances. Unfortunate to give one up there at the death, but I thought we should have had one to make it an interesting game. So second half was much better.
Just going back to the red card, Julian is a kid that has a bright future ahead of him. But as he's picked up a couple cards this season, what's ahead for him as he matures and gains experience?
Well, the future is very bright. He's obviously a great talent. He has a great mentality as well. He's a guy that plays like he's much older than he is. So, yeah, I think he's going to have an excellent career, and he's a guy that you want to have on your team. So, about the red card, it's unfortunate. He's going into the challenge at a pretty fast pace. Nowadays with the VAR, they're going to call that his studs are up. But for me, I think it's pretty soft. I thought it was harsh. But the refs made their call, and that's it.
Defensive improvements have really been in the focus for this club the last couple of seasons. What's important here in the offseason for this team to focus on, not collectively, but also individually as well?
I mean, that's up to the leadership of the club, the coach, whoever, if it's Dom. That's up to those guys on what they see is in the future. So I know for me, it's just about recovering now. It's been a crazy year and a crazy 4 months with games every three or 4 days. So now it's just recovery, and then back to it in a couple weeks, working on fitness again. So
We'll go next with Josh Gessman. Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Perry, thanks. But I have to imagine that the coaching change between Guillermo and Dom, there's probably a real sort of shift in how they like to do things, that type of thing. How do you think the team responded to Dominic Kinnear in these last 3 games? And is this a guy you could see, being a head coach for the LA Galaxy long term after this?
absolutely, I thought we responded very well. Obviously, that's not an easy situation, but, starting off with the Salt Lake game, it was a great response. Obviously 3 points. Seattle game as well. Might have even played better against them than we did against Salt Lake, but they scored at the end and we get a draw. So yeah, I think the guys respond very well to how Dom wants to set up the team. And I think he seriously has to be considered for the role. Yeah, I mean, he's a great coach. He's a great guy. So again, that's up to the leadership, but he definitely, had control of the locker room, and the guys respect him very much. So we'll see what happens.
What is if you could say one thing that he does, the best out of all of it, what's that one thing that he sort of can plant in your mind, or just changes he makes? What is that one thing?
I feel like he's great managing the whole squad. I feel like everyone has a clear picture of what's expected of them and what they need to do to succeed, and he gets everyone to buy into what we have to do to get results. And for me, that's a huge thing that you want out of your head coach. And I think he's been doing that very well the past week.
Yeah. Does that help you in particular? Because you seem to have sort of come alive a little bit with Dom there as well.
I mean, maybe. Again, it was a week. I've known Dom for a while, been around him for the past 3 years. But yeah, I feel like again, guys responded well to his methods, and I think outside of tonight, obviously a bit unfortunate with the red card and whatnot, but I thought we responded well.
Thanks, Perry.
Thanks.
Perry, thanks so much for your time. Safe travels back home.
Thanks, guys.
Tonight puts a bow on the 2020 season. As you look back at this year, what's important to stick with this team when you look back at this whole year?
Yeah, I don't know if we put a bow on it tonight, but definitely finished off. And I think the most important part was looking back at these last 3 games and how we responded to Dom coming in, and just the attitude of the team. I think everyone could see the team responded well, and the attitude definitely changed, and that's something to build on.
When players sign here, it always seems that they reference, the decorated history of this club. How does this team bring that past here to the present?
Yeah, I think obviously this year we fell very short of our expectations and where we should have been, and no one takes that harder than the players. I think we have to look back and analyze what went wrong this year, and you can't look back too far because it wasn't a pretty year. But looking back at just these 3 games, if we can keep that same mentality and same organization and same kind of routine, I think if you put that in a full year, I think we'd do very, very well.
You talk about looking back at this season. For you, how were you pushed this season professionally in your game?
Yeah, I think everyone can admit this year was challenging for everyone across all fronts, professionally, personally. It's one of those years that you have to grow from, and you learn from mistakes. And this year, hopefully you come out of this year stronger and more resilient than ever. And I think that's what we can do looking forward.
We have a question from Josh Gessman next. Josh, go ahead.
Hey, David. You talked about Dom and the team responding, and obviously I know you played with him in San Jose as well. Should Dominic Kinnear be considered for the long-term head coaching position for the LA Galaxy?
100%. I think when you look back, obviously I played with him before in San Jose, so I have the benefit of knowing what it's like under him. But at the end of the day, when LA Galaxy were at their peak, they had an American coach. They had fairly simple tactics, and then they put a team on the field that was competitive and were able to bring home championships. And when you try to replicate that model, I think Dom fits that mold better than anyone. He's I believe he's the top 3 for most wins in MLS history, and he knows what it takes to win in this league. And if you gave him the Galaxy with the resources the Galaxy have, I think there's no limit to what he could do with it.
Do you see, you talked about Dom, what does he do that's so specific? I know Perry had some ideas about why Dom is a good head coach, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think he kind of speaks the player's language. He knows what buttons to push at the right times, and Dom holds every player to the same accountability. And I think when you look at how other coaches coach and some players have different levels of accountability, it never really works throughout the team. Some players feel gypped or whatnot. Dom holds everyone accountable. It doesn't matter if you're a DP making $10 million or if you're a minimum guy. He doesn't care. He holds the standard across the board, and players respect that. And I think you can see just how the attitude switched when he came in, just the respect he demands, and he simplifies the game for you. And then in the end, you play better.
Great. Thanks, David.
David, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You most about this season?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. You know, I don't know yet, but I'm just really disappointed with not making the playoffs. That's always the goal at the beginning of every season. Obviously, this was a weird year with COVID and everything that's happened and things that have gone on in our country and around the world. So it seems like the season went by really fast. It seems like this year has gone by really fast. So I don't know. I don't think I've had time to look back on the entire season as a whole yet. Obviously, it's a big disappointment not making the playoffs. That part is a fact, I think, for everybody that's been involved. I don't know. Just not a lot of success this year, so it's disappointing.
How important is this off season?
I mean, in terms of the club, I think very important. I think there are going to be big decisions that are going to be made, whether that's about players or the next coach and things like that. So we've got to get it right. This club has very high standards for itself. They've set those standards over the 25 years of the league and being the most successful team in MLS history, that we have to hold ourselves to be very accountable and very high standards. So going forward, we all want to be part of winning teams. We want to bring championships back to Southern California. And I think we've got to challenge ourselves to get this right.
Christian Pavon gets the captain's armband. Little uncertainty where he's going to land next season. Can you just speak to the impact he's had for this club this year?
Well, I think he's been our most dangerous player, game in and game out for the entire season. It's obvious the quality that he has. He's stepped up in many games. Obviously, I think he's led the team in goals and assists. So on the field, I think he's done a really good job. I think in the locker room, he does a good job of being a part of everything, of trying to learn English, of trying to be part of the group and being a successful part of the group, and knowing that even at a young age, he's looked at as a leader on this team because of his quality and because of his experience of, playing for a big club in Argentina and playing for the Argentine national team and playing in a World Cup. So he's a guy that we've depended on all season long on the field. And, like you said, the future of his contract situation remains to be seen, remains to be resolved. And I think everybody would hope that he's back with the Galaxy.
We have a question from Adam Serrano. Adam, go ahead.
Sasha, just for you, in terms of, the high standards that you have in MLS, how difficult was this year? coming in and out of the lineup, in and out of the 18, obviously everything that's going on. How was it for you personally?
Well, coming in and out of the lineup, that's not a problem for me. I understand where I'm at in my career and being 35 years old, and although I still can cover a lot of distance in the games that I played, recovering for midweek games or games every 3 days is not as easy as it used to be for me, where I could play 90 minutes of every game for the entire season. So I know that part is just what comes with being a 35-year-old. So that part's no problem for me, as long as there's communication from the coaching staff about where I stand within the group and knowing my role of being a leader, whether I'm on the field or not. That part doesn't change for me. The disappointment for me comes from not being part of a winning team. It's not often in my career that I've been part of a losing team, and winning becomes a habit and you get used to it. And so not making the playoffs is no fun. It's just it sours your mood on a daily basis, and it's tough to stay positive. And so I think personally, I'm happy with the way I've played this season. In my limited minutes in the games that I did play, I thought I did well. I think as far as being a leader for this group, I think that part comes easy for me. Been around for a long time, played in a lot of games, and so speaking my mind when I need to speak or leading younger guys when I need to lead, that part comes easy also. But overall, I've got to look back and just say as a team this year, it's a disappointing season.
We'll go with the final question from Josh Gessman. Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Sasha. I know we're getting to the, maybe closer to the end of the road than certainly the beginning of the road for you. Have you given any thought to coming back next year, or for sure coming back next year? Is that a decision that you've made? And my second question there would sort of around Dominic Kinnear. It seems like the team has reacted well to him. Should he be considered, for the permanent LA Galaxy head coaching spot going forward?
I've not considered retirement at all. I still feel physically very good, and as long as I feel good physically, I'm going to try to play as long as I possibly can, as long as I can keep my level at the standard that's been set within this league and within the club. So I hope that I'm back next season. As far as Dom, I think in 3 games he's done a really good job, and there's been a good reaction from the players. I think he's been a very good communicator in the past few weeks. I think he's let guys know where they stand. He's always taken the time to let me know a day or two before the game whether I'd be starting or whether I'd be coming off the bench. And so certainly that's appreciated by the players, just to have that communication and know where you stand. I think tactically he did a few things that really helped in our favor for these last few games. I wish we would have won the last game against Seattle, not only for him, but for us to try to keep us in the race. It was a disappointing way to end that game, but that's soccer sometimes. And then today, a little sour taste in our mouth because we get a red card, and it ends up being a tough game when you're down a man, and mistakes hurt you in soccer. But overall, I think Dom did a great job. The players all really like him. Whether he continues being our coach or not, that's a question for the guys that are above me and, the guys who are paid to make those decisions. So I don't know what will happen in the future, but I think Dom has done a very good job for us.
Thanks, Sasha.
All right, is that it?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Is everybody still on, all the reporters?
Yes, everyone's still on.
Just want to say thank you guys for covering the team this year. I know it's your job, and I'm doing my job too, but soccer is obviously not the biggest sport in America, and the coverage that you guys provide for our team is obviously immeasurable for us. So thank you guys for doing all your work this year in all this crazy times, and logging on the computer and watching all these games and covering our team. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks, Sasha.